Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's installment of ClueCon Weekly, sponsored by SignalWire. This week with us, we have Surbhi Rathore, CEO and founder of Symbl.ai, which is a very interesting company in the artificial intelligence space. They're doing a lot of interesting stuff, and I've been looking at the webpage, amazed at how many things are going on there. So first of all, thank you for joining us. And if you could give us a quick introduction about the company and your products, that would be the best way to start from, because there's really a lot to learn from you.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Really nice to be here. Good morning from Seattle. It's unfortunately not sunny yet. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Symbl. Symbl is a developer platform that helps businesses analyze voice, text, and video conversations across multiple channels and domains without any upfront training data. We've built a very proprietary context understanding platform, which is kind of the core and central to these APIs and how these APIs are powered. And that eliminates the need for people to bring their kind of like build models and train data and build classifiers, etc. So it's kind of like a horizontal platform that lets you get everything from conversation and helps you go beyond speech recognition out of the box.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is very, very interesting. I think there's a lot of push in the industry to do transparent artificial intelligence into conversations. So people are starting to expect getting augmented tools. So you're in a conference like we are now, and you at the same time you're getting information streamed to you. I've seen a few of those solutions in the past, and it looks like we're going the right direction. But again, looking at the website, looking at the ideas you're providing, it's just so much to ask you about. So I'd like to start from the classic case. So I see you do a lot with customer care situations. What do you think will be a good way to approach modern customer care, and how can your solutions solve some of the problems?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we've been working with customers that are really thinking very differently about digitizing the experience of a customer care agent itself, kind of like dynamic dashboards for the CRM agents. And I come from a CRM background, so I've kind of like worked on CRM systems and contact center applications for a really long time. So I have a special place in my heart for those experiences. But really digitizing the experience of the CRM agent first, because they are the ones that are taking the phone calls, being able to dynamically recommend them information, which makes them look smarter and makes the overall call experience better, not just reduces the handling time, right? I mean, I know that some folks are really hard indexed on reducing call handling time. Like that's our core metric. I think customer experience is so important. And your frontline folks, which are talking to customers, the way they talk, the knowledge that they have about the product, like defines that. So a lot of coaching related use cases so that people can get started very fast. They don't have to go through an entire training cycle. A lot of smart recommendations as they are talking to the end customers, and then eventually being able to automate some of the tasks and workflows that the CRM agents will actually do by the end of the call or even during the call, which makes them get the other person hold the line for minutes and seconds. So those are like, I think, some of the really key dynamics which are going to change the way customer care industry kind of like operates.
That's very interesting. So could you give us a couple small-scale concrete examples of what agents could expect when using a Symbl.ai powered CRM? So I'm on the phone with a customer and...
Yeah, and all the information that I'm talking to you in terms of what's your name, what's your ID, what's your email address, etc. A customer care agent wouldn't have to type it. It gets automatically entered in the respective fields. Then the customer talks about an issue that they are facing, and the customer automatically will get recommendations of whether it's a general outage, whether it is something that there's a quick resolution towards, whether this that can be resolved over 3 days. So can I give a complimentary package to the customer so that they're helpful? So all these auto recommendations will be promptly appearing on the screen because a topic is detected and a question is detected for the current topic. And then after the customer, if the customer is unhappy about it, they will automatically see that, okay, in the state of an unhappy customer operating for this particular topic, what are the other complementary stuff that we can recommend? So really recommendations on how to handle the call and really coach them with the call, kind of like personalized coach, I would say. And then once things are decided in terms of, okay, I'm going to apply this package to you, upgrade this plan, your outage would be resolved in 3 days. All the activities and actions that a care agent needs to go manually and click buttons will be absolutely automated, driven by voice. That's what I feel is going to
So
change the
yeah,
way.
I can really see how that is going to drive. Well, call duration is going to be lower for sure because just skipping the typing is enough to save a solid couple minutes on a classic agent call.
Yeah.
Plus, it even allows you, in a sense, I mean, that's something that could be a topic of contention in some areas, but allows you to have less qualified agents in a sense because they don't have to be trained as much.
Yeah, and best part is that every agent can handle multiple areas, because I know that in some companies there are dedicated agents for a specific part of the company business line, and this way every single agent can actually take any calls. So there is less capacity issues, and more scalability across.
Yeah, that sounds like a very good alternative to automated agents, which are not quite there yet, to be honest. The
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I almost feel that talking to a human will never go away. I mean, no matter like how many chatbots we put into picture, and I have been working in the conversational AI space before we started the company. It's great to have a chatbot, to solve simple queries like what's the weather, or kind
yeah,
of take a note or things like that. But really, when you are at these sensitive issues, when there's a customer not happy about your product or has a problem, you really need another human to talk to them and really calm them or understand their problems. So yeah, I strongly believe talking to a human will never go away.
I really agree with you on the fact that chatbots are currently, they're probably going to stay in that area. They're even better suited than a human for simple tasks,
Yeah,
which they can solve pretty pinpoint quickly,
yeah,
stuff like that. But doing just something like booking a flight. So I used to fly a lot. And I mean a lot as the technology evangelist for SignalWire.
yeah,
Before COVID, I used to be on planes 3 months a year, but the just the flight time. So
yeah,
and I've tried a few times to move a flight. I have to go through Atlanta instead of through Miami through the phone, and it was an automated bot. It almost always turned me into mashing DTMF until it could get to a human. Like the classic trick of just breaking the IVR until they sent you to an agent.
I've done that too a couple of times. I'm guilty of that as well.
Yeah, it is. It gets complicated as soon as you branch out into territories like having to say dates or having to pick from a list. It is. I definitely agree on that. So the goal of getting agents all in the same field and having them actually be able to run different type of calls without having to have extensive training, etc., is going to be a very big play. So I really like that approach.
Yeah,
That's very interesting.
yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. And just another point in
Of
terms
course.
of overall experience, I mean, I think it is equally beneficial for a CR, customer care agent managers or compliance officers,
Mhm.
because they can have real-time visibility into the calls, which is so difficult to have right now. So what my agents are talking, what are the most active topics, and what are the most active topics with a bad sentiment that I can quickly fix? Which are the calls that need my attention? All these real-time prompts are so critical to run a customer care function seamlessly. So yeah, that's another point.
Wow, that's super interesting. So you will be board where you can see which agents are in the calls that are going well and which agents are on calls that are going badly, and join them. Maybe you can know how long ago the agents has joined, so maybe they're not very well trained, and
Yeah,
you can help them get
yeah,
get statistics. That's super interesting. And hey, you're right. Right now, we were discussing this with another guest a few weeks ago. Right now, all call centers are distributed. Used to be that many call centers had 1,000 people in an office,
yeah,
500, 200, it was smaller stuff, but they were all in one place. So all you had to do is raise your hand, and supervisor will just walk over to your place and just check and see what was going on. Right
yeah.
now, everybody's their own home using their own devices. So getting everybody the information, and especially the supervisor the information, is double important. So that's really super interesting. But
That's
there's another area I'd like to. So looking at again, we will probably need a couple episodes here because there's so many things I like reading about here. I've dabbled in AI, but never really gotten into it because of working on our self platform, telephony, etc. But it's super interesting to me. The sales support that you do. I've been with sales for a long time. I do sales engineering effectively, and for larger, more complicated solutions. And some of these things directly resonate with me. So while in the call center you're handle the agents, in sales it looks like it's more workflow oriented. So you're helping the deal move through the company. Is that correct?
Yeah, both actually, because I feel that coaching and actions are two different verticals, like searchability, coaching, and actions. These are three things which applies horizontally across to so many domains. It's just like general use cases, because you want to be able to provide an experience to coach new joinees. You want to be able to automate tasks and workflows, automatically send invoices, automatically send contracts, make sure that it's logged in the CRM data so that the sales agent don't have to spend enough time kind of like manually entering on Fridays, which is kind of the biggest pain point in the sales industry. Like every single SDR or AE will only update CRMs on Fridays and they will never do it. So like the real-time visibility that usually sales managers wants to have, it's very missing. So, updating CRM for sales as well as contact center, it's kind of falls under the same arena. And then being able to search information in real time on a call. So these, I feel that they apply horizontally to multiple use cases.
So in sales in particular, does your applications, because I think there's more than one, offer a way to categorize deals, look at the past deals, maximize revenue, figure out? So what I'm feeling here is that many times we're doing sales, especially the technical side of things, you never know if a prospect is looking good or not until it's, quotes, too late sometimes.
Yeah.
So you spend time on them and then they either don't have the budget or the technical level is too high or various reasons. So is there an insight we can get from the API that will help?
No, so we don't ingest the data in the CRM systems. Symbl is purely conversation intelligence. So we provide the ability for a CRM provider to be able to get all the details and metadata from the conversation itself. But at the end of the day, they will combine this with the data in their CRM and create revenue intelligence. So that's how our customers mostly work, because like every business is unique in itself. And every sales CRM platform will have a different way of figuring out deal intelligence or revenue intelligence. So we want to be able to power them with the conversation insights so that they can make that deal intelligence much better and accurate.
Yeah, it is indeed hard. You're right. Isn't it in the art to just randomly determine if a prospect is good without knowing anything about the industry? So, of course, the sentiment and transcriptions, plus the other intelligence points that one can have from the CRM, frequency of calls, content of emails, that kind of stuff can be all put together and you can get a number out of it.
True. And then generally, like, what's the pace of the agent? What's the talk time? Was there an overlap when the sales agent was talking to a potential customer? And what were the action items? Was there an action item related to the right next step? What was the overall conversation timeline looked like? And what is the topics that were covered? What was the sentiment across those topics? There's just so many things in the conversation data that can add value to how CRM platforms calculate overall deal intelligence. And that's kind of where our arena is.
That's very, very interesting. Yeah, I think we're going to have to take a look at this after the call. It's very, very interesting to me. Okay, so sales is very important and probably, I wouldn't say the most important part these days, but sales has been under a lot of pressure these days. You have to deliver in a different way. Everything has changed, etc. So I think tools are very useful. But SignalWire in particular is developing. Well, we already released one version, and there will be a new version coming out of a meeting software, which is the one we're using to record
I love it.
our chat, which is SignalWire Work. And I think there's a lot of things I'd like to know about how you empower meetings and make them smarter, because there's a direct tie in here. Like, say we have work, say I'm a company interested in your services. We have this environment called SignalWire Work, which does all these things. You can chat to people, share screen, etc. How can I empower and make my meetings better to your tools?
Yeah, sure. So from an integration standpoint, we integrate with platforms and products on three different interfaces: a telephony interface using SIP, PSTN if you just want to dial in into the meeting, or WebSocket based integration, which is by far the most accurate way. And that way you can send like independent audio streams to the WebSocket interface that we have. So identifying different speakers, who spoke what is the percentage of conversation that happened with each speaker on what topic, like these are some of the basic metadata things in addition to transcription, which comes out of the box. There are three types of experiences that we usually discuss with customers that they can create: a pre-meeting experience, an in-meeting experience, and a post-meeting experience. So pre-meeting experience, like before joining the meeting, you might want to have a recap of what happened in the, if it's a recurring meeting, the last meeting that took place. So you, like, just before joining, you might want to show, hey, last meeting you discussed about XYZ points, just catching you up. These were the 4 action items that came out, particularly the last one on you. Make sure you've got that before you're getting
Mhm.
into the stand up. And in the meeting, a real time experience. I mean, yeah, closed captioning is definitely helpful for people who are doing multitasking and just one of the participants. But in addition to that, a lot of participants want to play catch up when they join the meeting late, which most of us do now, especially now when we're doing back to back meetings. So, just a quick summary, on an option in the meeting tool for me to see what were the key topics that were talked before even I joined the conversation, and what were the important questions asked. Was there any mention on my name specifically? Because I want to make sure that I'm prepped when I enter this meeting. So things like that, playing catch up in the conversation. And then if someone wants to take real time notes, because some people are really, really interested to do that, augmenting them with some automated recommended notes from the system, which can help them kind of like take their own notes. But then people who are not interested in taking notes, sending a post meeting summary of the conversation and doing some workflow automation related to where this information should go. So if I'm a Slack user, I can actually personalize all this to send into my Slack channel, because like that's my record system. Like that's kind of my system of record for every single thing. I work in Slack. But if I'm a salesperson, I want everything in Salesforce, because I don't want to work on anything else. And otherwise, on an email, Google Drive, like there's just so many tools that people use. So every company can define all the conversation data should be stored in a secured Google Drive or like Dropbox,
Mhm.
and they can build that into integration, and then also collectively create knowledge. Oh my God. I mean, there is so much information in conversations, like unbelievably, which is missed right now. Imagine all of that in a particular drive or, some form of database,
Wow.
and you're able to search, query. When a new joinee joins like a year later in the same marketing division, they can go back to conversations 1 year back and actually search for things what were talked about. I mean, so much value in it. So yeah, that's just a gist of what you can do in meetings.
Yeah, I have to say that we at SignalWire we're doing I think a good job of documenting stuff using Google Drive, etc. But all of those are just documents that have been written either for the purpose of being documentation or for there was something else, a presentation, a contract, whatever. But we are in a sense having transcriptions of every meeting, having the ability to extract. It will be even different because many times we've discussed the same topic but in a slightly different way,
Yeah.
and that will be beneficial to maybe a new hire or we're constantly hiring. We're growing very well, so there's a lot of new people joining every week, and as a result, and there's a lot of training going on, which is great. But it feels like there's space just in the growth of a company for a tool that allows you to, let's say, you have to train people a little bit less. Then you of course have to help them, but it's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. And I feel that what people write versus what people talk is a very big difference. Usually, the way that you talk and explain things are very different when someone tells you, "Can you document it?" Like a lot of information is usually missed. So yeah, that's super helpful. But then also, transcription doesn't let you do everything that you would want to do effectively. Like you
Hmm.
can transcribe a conversation, and that's a good first step. But then having to read just raw text of thousands and thousands of pages is like a nightmare. So you want to be able to, aggregate that data or segment it and even index it in the right way. And that's kind of what we are basically, our thesis is that, we will let you go beyond transcription out of the box, because we know that just transcription is not very useful.
Yeah, it can be, but it's not really super useful. Okay, so that's super interesting. I was looking at your API quickly, and before we move into the last topic, I'd like to ask you about. So you support WebSockets. We SignalWire supports streaming audio from a call via WebSockets. So I think what I'll do right after the call, if it's
We
sitting down in
have
front
to
of
do the integration now.
I'll try and write up a quick example so we can get a feel for it. Yeah, but if you're looking at Symbl, keep in mind SignalWire does support streaming audio through WebSockets through both of our APIs, so both on Lamel and Relay. So feel free to reach out to myself, and I'll help you set it up. I'll be happy to. I'll be happy to help. It's very interesting. So one last thing, which is, or rather, not the last thing, but another topic that really interests me is in the last couple of days we've had a conference that we usually do yearly, which is called ClueCon, but this year we had it twice. One was in February, and we'll have the real one, we hope, in person in August. And one of the recurring topics is always lead generation and answering machine detection in particular. There are regulations that stipulate that you have to pick up a call within a certain amount of time. Generally, I think everybody's disregarding them because some of the regulations are actually too stringent. Like detecting a human in effectively what will be a second or less is physically impossible. And I will challenge people to do that. Like an actual person cannot tell if it's a human or a machine in a second. So, but still using classic models with energy detection, so duration of speech detection and word counting works good, but we can do better. So, what do you offer on the generally lead generation side, and especially on the answering machine side?
Yeah, but I mean, like, one of the key reasons for us to provide this is, and we always want to provide capabilities that we approach the market differently than what it has right now, is the power to add content and context. Because sometimes answering machines right now, like, people leave lengthy messages by themselves, and like, it's not really an answering machine on the other side, it's someone talking. So we basically analyze the content of the conversation data, and then we also look at the context of what the sentence was really said. So we bring the meaning of words into an analysis. So that makes it go a little beyond of what already exists in the market. That looks at voice modulation and other speaker and word count, which is basic metadata. So that's kind of what Symbl's answering machine is.
So yeah, so it's super interesting. And the problem there is very often that the call has to be connected within a certain amount of seconds, which again doesn't really make super sense to me. Like, some regulations again stipulate 2 seconds between answer and connection, which, taking into account, give it a few hundred milliseconds for the actual call setup, leaves you 1 second to determine if the other end is a machine or a person.
Yeah.
Which is definitely not enough. Still going down to, so how long do you think your engine can do detection on average?
Yeah, I mean, it depends upon, like, we also are releasing something we call as trackers this week with a few early customers that I've been working with. And trackers will give you the ability to actually detect answering machine in less than a second. And we can talk about it eventually after the call to kind of show you how it is, because it is very based on like content-based detection. But generally, I think it's around 2 seconds or so. Like, that's kind of what we've seen. Yeah.
That is very powerful. I mean, that's yeah. I think the end game for telephony recognition, for answering machine detection, is always going to be about speech recognition and intent detection, because voice activity is good, but ultimately, I mean, the only thing that can tell you what's on the other end is generally what they're saying.
Exactly. And I mean, that's how we started figuring out the solution to the problem itself. So we never started with voice modulation, actually, because the whole engine that we have built is purely on content and context anyway. So that's why it was one of the outputs of the engine.
Yeah, we have. I've worked on a lot of answering machine tasks and engines, etc. Ours is pretty good. I mean, we're very happy with how it works currently. But I always have, when I do demos, somehow the colleague I call, instead of saying hello, picks up the phone and say, "Hello, this is Luca Pradovera. I'm ready to talk to you. Please speak," or something like that. Even if they're invariable, like every time, unless you warn them in advance, "Hey, I'm just going to call a colleague and I'm going to show you how good the answer machine is. Hello, this is Luca Pradovera. You have reached my phone. I have a meeting in 5 minutes. Please speak quickly."
Yeah.
No, don't do that.
That's hilarious. I didn't think of that scenario, although I'm going to go into
it happens. Everyone answers in a different way, so of course that has to be taken into account. One question: how do you support only English language, or do you support other languages too?
We do. We're a startup, so we want to do things. We want to do less things. Want to do it really well, and that's why we support only English for all the different insights that we generate. We will definitely expand to different languages, but future roadmap, not today.
Of course, yeah. We do have US and Canada traffic at the moment too. So it's yeah, you have to start from somewhere, right? It's also each language has its own set of challenges. So it is
Yeah, absolutely.
especially because I suppose without getting any secret sauce from you, which you probably cannot tell me, I suppose most of what you're doing is actually proprietary because of how it works. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we do talk a little bit about it because, like, we want people who are thinking about building
mhm.
such systems using just deep learning, like, how can they augment it with some unsupervised machine learning approaches and take it to the next level so that they require less training data. Actually, just yesterday, we gave a talk in Developer Week about how can you build an open domain system to understand human-to-human conversations at scale,
Mhm.
using something now the industry refers as deep understanding, really combining both supervised and unsupervised approaches of machine learning together.
That's very interesting. So
Yeah.
your again, I won't ask, but most of your stuff. So your speech recognition engine is all in-house built. I'll be I'd be curious to see that at some point because
Yeah,
I'm
no. So we're agnostic to speech recognition. We can work with any speech recognition vendor in the market. We have our own default, but the idea is to really take it to the next level. So a lot of the work that we do is after speech recognition, like
yeah.
that.
Actually, that leads me into one last interesting question. So you said you support sending audio over via variety of systems. What if I already have the text? Can I use your APIs still?
Yes, yes, great question. We have a text API where you can just push your transcription and the system will analyze it in the same way. We actually also have an experience API where you can generate pre-built UI experiences using the conversation data, which is pre-indexed with a video recording and just like an indexed video with transcription, insights, topics, everything. So some cool stuff you can do with experience API, with text API, both of them.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, say I have whether either Slack APIs or an in-house chat system of some sort built around whatever of the various open source engines, maybe Matrix, if you heard about that, which is a commonly used open source
Yeah.
chat, well, communications engine. There's a few of them, or I have just my email indexed, so I know which emails I don't have to index, but the others can be all fed into the system, and then I get back I can get that sentiment about email conversations too.
Yes, absolutely. And better yet, you can actually combine multiple sources of data together under a single ongoing context. Because understanding multimodal communications is like one of the big things right now, right? So a customer talks over a lifetime of their journey with a product. They will talk on messages, on emails, on voice and video. So using our APIs, we actually have a put API by which you can attach and stitch several conversations together under a single ongoing context, and then you can derive topics which is going to span across conversations. So you will know that, okay, out of the 20 interactions that this customer had with our system, what is the percentage that they talked about pricing? And think questions like this can be answered.
Okay. Well, I think you've got me convinced. So, how does someone who is watching the podcast and is really liking what they're hearing get started?
Well, this is a really good time because we're also running a hackathon on DevPost. So if you guys are interested to kind of hack with us, go there and sign up on the hackathon, join our Slack channel where we have a community ongoing to provide you support and solve some cool engineering problems. But if you don't want to join the hackathon, even then, go to our documentation, docs.symbl.ai or platform.symbl.ai. You can sign up, create an account. We give free minutes to start with, so you don't need to pay anything to get started. Do some cool API calls, process a recorded file, and use the Experience API to see the output. That's the easiest way to get started.
Fantastic. And use SignalWire to pipe data into
Yes.
Symbl via WebSocket. So I'll go set that up later. Cool. So this was a great chat. Thank you very much. We touched on a lot of topics. AI is becoming more and more prevalent in today's workspace for a variety of reasons, and I think takeaway going back to the start is that AI doesn't replace people. AI actually helps people work better and helps, I would say, less qualified people do their job better. Because going back to the agent example, we very often get remarks like, "Hey, if you replace everybody with artificial intelligence, there won't be any more jobs. That's something you probably heard over your career more than I do because you're in the actual field. It's not true. Like, it actually helps people and it makes everybody able to do their job better, including people who maybe know less about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we got to use it wisely. Like every other technology that has emerged in the market, like we got to be wise in making decisions on how we integrate it with our product and what experiences do we dictate in the market. And this is the same, we're at the same junction at that point of time. So yeah, I'm really excited about how the ecosystem is going to change and how people will save time on doing redundant stuff and go and give it back to their families. We are going to create shared knowledge across everyone's conversations and really help us go to the next level as humans and individuals.
Yeah, that's really a good path forward. Well, thank you, Surbhi, for joining us today. Surbhi Rathore, CEO and founder of Symbl.ai, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Thank you, Surbhi.